All right, guys. Happy Friday. Another Dude Dad's Friday. Back to a virtual one. Pretty pumped about these folks. You may or may not have seen them on social media. If you're into more homesteading, country, outdoor type stuff, you probably have. Collins Country, welcome to the show. I really appreciate you guys today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to make an introduction to your actual names?
Sure. I'm Courtney. This is my husband,
Court-
James.
Courtney and James. James or Jim? Does it matter?
We usually go James, but you know what?
Okay.
Does James go to Jim?
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
So some of
I
my
knew
family
that.
members, yeah,
Didn't know
some of
that.
my family members do call me Jimmy, but most people call me James.
Nice.
Okay.
Turn this up just a little bit. Cool, man. Well, no, so we want to hear your story, right? So obviously the stuff you guys do around your property is not a lot of people do. Not a lot of people have the knowledge, the capability, and
Yeah, where'd you learn that? Yeah, where'd you learn the confidence to start homesteading?
yeah, like what was what is your story from where you were before to what you're doing now?
Okay. Yeah. I'll start a little bit with the backstory and then I'll let James chime in because he's absolutely the mastermind behind all this. 16, 17, we were living in a standard neighborhood in Northern Kentucky and we just hated it. We wanted to get out. We wanted land, but it's hard to find. It's expensive. So we saved and looked for land for 5 years before we finally got the 60 acres that we live on here in Kentucky. We purchased that in 2018 and we had planned on buying it and then moving to the property at some time in the near future, like maybe in the next 5 years. We've had the property for 6 months at this point in time in 2018, and we wanted to get out of the neighborhood so bad. We both agreed we didn't care if we had to live in a tent to live on the farm. We were going to move. So in 2019, we sold everything we owned. We already had a camper, so we moved the camper, down to the farm and lived in that while James and myself pretty much built the house that we live in now. We were working as the general contractors and did subcontract out a few things, but the vast majority of the work we did ourselves. Well, I say we, I really mean James.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
James is busy.
Yeah. So one of the things that I kind of battled with this whole situation and the decision making of all of this was basically moving my wife and two kids at the time into a camper. I felt like that was a huge risk, and I'm not one to take much risk as far as the health and the quality of my family's living.
Yeah.
But I read some stuff on the internet. I had read a book by John Eldredge at one point, and basically he's talking about how in order to gain in life, you need to take risks. So I thought, you know what? I talked to the family about it. I even talked to my kids, which of course they were all four living in a camper.
Yeah.
But
they were 2 and 8 months old at the time. So really it was only the 2-year-old that had an opinion, but he wanted to live in the camper bad.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a bold move.
It was crazy.
It really was for me. I mean, I know there's some people in the world that would make decisions like this without even thinking about it, but we are always try to think about these types of things. It's like you don't want to put yourself in situations where you could possibly fail, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in this situation, though, it was more beneficial for us to sell what we had to be able to live on the property than to build what we wanted. And, it did take a good year. I did feel like I lost a year of my life with the family to be able to build what we got. But, here we are. We're on this property. We're able to homestead. We got a beautiful house that we like and, living life.
Yeah.
Dude, the house is gorgeous.
I can tell from the cabinetry. It looks very nice.
Well, yeah, that and like the pictures and videos you guys post, it's phenomenal, and that's most people couldn't do that. Some people build like the first house on the property and then the dream house on the property.
Yeah.
You guys went all in right away.
I think, what helps at least us with that is just the way James's mind is made. He can look at anything and without education, understand how to fix it, build it, whatever it is, where I am not built like that. It's amazing.
Yeah. There's some things that I'm very timid on. I mean, to be honest with you, concrete work, I'm timid on. And even though there's guys out there say that is the easiest thing out there, but me, it's just too permanent. It's like if you screw it up, it's going to be a lot of work to try to get it out. So we subcontracted out any of the concrete here.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you do what's your background? What do you do for a living?
So I work at Duke Energy. I'm a control system technician. I work inside the substations for utility companies.
Okay. That's my buddy DJ. He worked at Duke. He was a nuclear engineer at Duke, and
So it's a multi-location.
it's a big
Okay.
big company.
Oh, yeah.
He's in South Carolina in like
Okay.
Clemson area, whatever
Yeah,
the plant
okay.
is around that. Yeah, that's he actually just retired. He left there to just do real estate, and he invests and owns businesses and that sort of thing. But Duke, he was a slave to Duke. I mean,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
it's crazy.
It's funny
Yeah.
thing about me is I don't work overtime or anything like that. I'm a 40-hour a week guy there,
Yep.
and I want to get back here to my property.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys at work, they think it's crazy because we make good money there, and if you're working overtime, you're making real good money. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, oh, I don't want to do that. I want this is what we built this down here. This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
What kind of utilities did you have? Like when you got the camp, how big was the camper? Did you have utilities when you first started? Did you like what was the start?
So that's interesting. It's we kind of got lucky with that. So when we bought our property, there was already a concrete pad that was built, and somebody had a camper on it, and so they actually had a septic system put in,
A small one.
a small
That's
septic
nice.
system. There was electric there and water.
So we literally pulled it up and hooked it up, and we were done.
You
in
were
5
plug and play. Yeah, that's nice.
Oh,
That's good.
It was
That's
perfect.
more sellable. See, that's
Yeah.
like, that's we can do it right now.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is the lady who sold us the property, she wasn't even aware of these details on the property. So I mean,
Wow.
when we pulled it, the camper was already gone. Whoever had lived there or was staying there. So when we pulled up, we are like, oh man, this is kind of some added features here.
Yeah.
Did you live in a neighborhood with HOA?
No,
No.
thankfully, I
Okay.
chose
It was-
to never do that.
It was a more poor neighborhood, so we did not have
It wasn't.
HOAs.
It wasn't poor. It was a nice neighborhood.
It wasn't poor, but
I
it was.
loved the house there, to be honest. It was a nice ranch, and if I could have picked it up, put it where we're at now,
Yeah.
I would love to. She kind of more or less chose the house design that we're living in now. So
Yeah.
Nice.
I can totally relate to doing what you have to do.
Yeah.
I just got this. Well, actually, I bought the house from Jerry here because he was a realtor on it. And I was living. I had my family. I already had a son, and my wife, and we lived the upstairs part of my brother's house because I had just sold my rentals, and I was like, "Look, we're just going to live up there. I'm going to save money, and then we'll figure out what we're going to buy." And then COVID happened, and then the prices here, for at least for us, were going really fast. I mean,
Same.
it was, yeah. So we finally get. So I'm a contractor and I have a lot of toys, and so it's called Lake Drive, and it's like the Hallmark, community with architectural houses. It's right on a lake, and pulling up a dump trailer, the enclosed trailer with the trucks, no go. So I
That's
used
a
to
big
get called
no-no.
on all the time. Somebody like my buddies from like the inside of like the police department, like, yo, somebody wants to tow your trailer, like you need to go move it. I'm like, all right, I'll
Yeah.
go move it. So I finally got here just early an acre and a half, but man, it feels that suffering felt really nice because when I found out I was having a daughter, I was like, shit, I need to buy something now. Luckily, it just popped up. I was
Yeah.
able to
Yeah.
build something.
We
That's
were
awesome.
able to give him some inside information to make sure he got this house though.
Yeah,
I just texted him, said, let me know where to be.
Yeah.
right.
Here's your price, make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of how our first house actually worked out because it was a foreclosed home and it actually turned into a little bit of a bidding war. But we kind of had some inside with the realtor at the time, and they were like, "Hey, you need to bid this to get that." It's like, oh,
Yeah.
did.
so
It helps to know people.
I'll tell you what, it was, oh my gosh. So it was a balance though, man, I rebuilt the whole house. I got the whole thing.
Amazing.
And I mean, especially taking, that was a journey, man. That was so much money. That was like, at the time they weren't giving out the best loans. The best
Yeah.
loan I could get was, hey, we'll give you this amount, but you have to front it first. And then when you get to that certain part, we'll give you the money that you spent. I'm like, oh my God. So like, I'm reaching out, grabbing a little more jobs than I should have, trying to make sure I get the money and complete everyone else's work and then go to my house and make sure these jobs work.
Well, it
So-
just shows too, like same thing what you guys did. You do what you have to do.
You have
You
to.
know what the end goal is. You know what you want,
Yep.
and you took a year out of your life that when you're in the middle of it, it really sucks. And
Mhm.
I'm
Hard.
sure you questioned yourself a number of times.
Oh yes,
But in reality, how fast does a year go by?
So
And
fast.
then when you get there, you're like, okay, this is why I made that little tiny sacrifice.
Yeah.
And what kind of stinks is your kids might not remember it. Well, the
Yeah.
one definitely isn't.
Yeah.
right.
The 2-year-old probably won't either, which is
Yeah.
kind of heartbreaking when they get to that point of their lives where you're like, do you remember? And they're like, no, I don't remember. And
Yeah,
it is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know, so like for pets, like my daughter's 10, so like stuff that happened when she was 4 that she remembered until she was like 7. and then at some point it just like went away.
Yeah.
You know, so that, but I'm sure you guys, the great thing about today's technology is we've got social media, we've got things
Yeah.
that it will never go away. You go like, look at this
Right.
beautiful YouTube video of
Yeah.
this when you were babies. This is what we did. So since we're not like OG followers of you guys, did you document this whole journey?
We
Like, can
did.
you go back and look at this, like the
Oh, yeah.
camper life?
So we started a YouTube channel in 2019 when we moved to the camper. And that was mainly because I'm from Ohio, roughly a little less than 2 hours away from where we live now. All of our grandparents were still alive at the time, and they wanted to see what we were doing because they did not have the means to get down here. So we started making YouTube videos for friends and family, and it just slowly started gaining traction. Now, I do like to also preface that we did not make a penny from YouTube the whole entire time we built the house. Because there's a lot of people that think, oh, they had a YouTube channel, they paid for their house. No, that was paid with our own money. But then, I don't know, last year, people kept harping on us to get Instagram. And we kept saying no, like we just want to stick with YouTube. It's too much to keep up with. We have 3 boys at this point in time. And then finally, a year ago, we caved and we got an Instagram, and I don't know, it's done pretty well. And now we have a TikTok. So it's just
Was
evolved, I
the
guess.
Was the Instagram the account that kind of took you guys to like a bigger level of popularity and the next level of popularity?
I would say so.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
There was one video about 3 or 4 months into our Instagram journey that went viral pretty quickly. It got like 8 or 10 million views in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And that really put us on the map. And that then put a lot of cross traffic over to our YouTube channel, because then when people realized we built this house, they wanted to see how we did it. So now a lot of people have gone back and watched all of those videos.
Yeah, it is awesome. And I don't mean to jump around, but it just popped in my mind. Did you guys see the chick, the Dadvocate, that did her video with you guys?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, we did.
We had so many people send us, and I'm like, what in the world? This is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, that is freaking awesome. So we've been trying to get her on this show for a
Cool.
while, and we had Dad Starting Over was on here a while ago, and he's friends with Lauren, who is Dadvocate, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll see what I could do." And we've so many emails and kind of back and forth, and it just hasn't happened yet. And then I saw her video the other day, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's pretty incredible."
Country.
And then and what you were doing, the drop panels in between the eye joists, is like that's a genius move.
Genius. I know.
You know what's funny about that is a lady that used to work for me. She works at Lowe's. She's the pro and pro services.
Cool.
Rihanna, shout out. And she sends me. So I have a company. It's called Wrights Custom Basements. So I specialize in finished basements. She sends me a whole list of like DIY ideas for joists and stuff that you can do for basements. I was like reading the first thing says Collins Country. I was like, what? I was like, yeah, Rihanna, like they're on my show next Friday. She's like, you serious? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, so. But I wanted to ask, like, do like people just make stuff now and just throw your name on it, or did they actually interview you about how to like do basement work? Or
did you know that was coming? That those?
Oh no.
Yeah. So, but on TikTok, you do get notifications of when people use your videos, and I think we still get credit for when they show. But I mean, most people, I feel like, at least around us, who actually ended up seeing that video was through that Lauren girl. Which, to be honest, I
had no idea who she was.
I didn't know who she was. I still really haven't followed her much. I just seen that video and I thought, well, that's kind of cool. And then I started looking at some of her videos and how many views she's got. I'm like, man, she's big time.
And then we were like, oh my gosh.
It's such a good move too. Like that's one thing that when I go into basements, you have it's basements are just problem solving. You go down there, everyone's stuck in everything down there, and you're the last man with it. So
right.
If I go into a ceiling that's only 8 foot tall, then you have all your HVAC, your returns and supplies, making it almost 7 foot there.
Yep.
If it's very tight, I'm like, look, I've done it where I do all black ceilings.
Yeah.
And then I went to Florida and I went to the Tiger Woods Top Golf or whatever it's called there. And they were doing black with the gray and browns. I was like, oh, that's a better move. That's more elegant looking. So I started introducing like the HVAC just gray with the ceiling black.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to solve an issue. Like, you don't have to drywall stuff. Like the beams look cool, you know?
Yeah.
And other ones, we grab faux beams and wrap certain ones. Like if I get lucky, in some houses, they'll have an actual slab of wood for the beam. I'm like, I don't even drywall. I leave it uncovered. I sand it and I stain it as a nice piece of wood, as like a nice header when you walk down. Sometimes I get lucky that the lolly column is like a 6 or 4x4 post that I can sand and stain too, you know?
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
make things look really, really nice.
Yeah, I try to, just try to be one up on my competitors. But the ceiling I saw, I was like, yeah, man, like I've always offered the stuff inside. I'm like, it already looks cool. We don't have to just cover it in drywall, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Do something
Yeah.
different.
Yeah,
That's a beautiful move.
it's such a simple idea, I feel like, but it did take us a while. On our last house, we finished the basement and we used a drop ceiling. And you know how drop ceilings are. They ain't the most aesthetically pleasing, ceilings, but it allows you access, which was important to us because of how much work we typically do on houses. And, I do all my own work. So it's not like I'm going to hire somebody to come and do some drywall work for me. I'd rather be able to access ceilings. So we sat down
Yeah.
there for a long time, tried to figure it out. And I'm like,
One
Why
day
don't we
it
just
just
do
clicked.
this?
Yeah. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that's genius.
And originally we
Yeah.
were going to do like the bottom of the eye joist, that 2x3. We were going to actually sand them and stain them. There's some sort of
Yeah.
nice wood stain with the black panels behind it. And we ended up just doing all black beams because it's a movie theater. But that would be a really nice look too, is if you just sanded and stained the bottom.
The 2x3.
For sure.
2x3s
Yeah.
just
And
put
we
black
we
panels up.
get both here. A lot of times it will be an engineered I-beam anymore around here.
Yeah.
But
Same.
sometimes you get a nice solid 2x12 or something that
Mhm.
But a lot of times,
Yeah.
now
It's-
it's the I-beam.
Yeah, it seems like it's hit or miss on what people like, but I know there's a fire hazard. People talk about with the eye joist that they can burn up very quickly, but people put that in our comments all the time, and it's like, yeah, we know that we ain't dumb, but at the same time, with the panels on there, I can guarantee you it's a better fire rating than it was previously.
Yeah. Because it was
Oh, yeah.
unfinished. There's no protection when it's unfinished. And obviously it's
Mm.
not against code to have an unfinished basement. So
No,
Some
yeah,
people-
no, for sure.
So I've seen like one of the last several videos I've seen is a lot of canning. So how have you guys?
And maple syrup season.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when did you jump into that, and how did you learn, how did you learn that?
So growing up, I was raised on a tobacco farm, but my family was not at all self-sufficient. We were completely reliant on the
Okay.
grocery store. When we were living in a neighborhood back at our old house, I wanted to learn how to can. My mom knew how to can jellies, so she showed me and I canned jellies, but that was it. So I had a little bit of like basic knowledge. And then when we got to the farm, once the house was done, I was like, okay, I really need to focus on gardening and canning. And I don't know, his mom had pressure canned green beans growing up. So
Yeah.
she came over and taught me how to pressure can. I already knew how to water bath can with the jellies. And so I just started taking our extra produce. I have a 1940s ball canning book, which is the best resource. And I just followed those canning guidelines. And I don't know, I
Yeah.
just figured it out, I guess. It's honestly easy. Once you know the basics,
Yeah.
you can't mess it up.
I love it. I think it's such a good influence. I think there's plenty of bad influences for moms and women's out there. So like
Yeah.
when I see that, I'm like, this is a very positive thing. Like,
Yeah.
especially like for around here, like if you come like for Jerry's house, like you'll only be eating what Jerry killed. If you come to my house, it'll only be well, I get to come back to hunting this year.
Yeah,
My kids were too small. I've been on a 3-year hiatus, but it's only from the farm, and the farms that are doing only grass fed. So that's all you're going to see, and whatever fruits and vegetables are in season, that's all you're going to get. But and I think
This is a level up.
this is a level up, which I feel like many people could do. And I like everybody going backwards. We've gone so fast, so forward that
Yeah.
no one even understands what it is you're buying. They're just like, yeah, just grab it. I'm like, well, what the hell is it? How did
Yeah.
they make it? What is
It
it?
took-
You know what I mean?
It
Like,
took only 2 generations to completely get away from self-sufficiency.
Yeah,
All of our
wild.
grandparents were very self-sufficient. It's
yeah,
insane.
people think that it's been happening for a long time. I'm like, dude, this whole food
No.
industry is still really new. Like, so
Yeah.
it's been nice for me to just like, whoa, let me pull out of this for a second. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's why it's great seeing families like yours, because you enjoy it. You had a calling, whatever it was, that this is what you wanted to do. But now you have 2 little human beings that is their entire lives. That's
Yeah.
the only thing they're going to know
Yeah.
is this is how we eat. This is how we get food. The only thing I do, is our protein. Like we haven't bought grocery store meat in a decade. Just
Nice.
Amazing.
we hunt and fish, we crab, all that stuff is just that's what we eat. And like I've been saying for years, I need to do a veggie garden and just pick half a dozen veggies that we like to eat and just do it and kind of go a little further in on it.
Yeah, because when you get like a good, somebody brings homemade tomatoes, I mean, it's a
Oh,
game
yeah.
changer, man.
I
And
know.
it's honestly, it's just laziness. I'll admit it. It's just me going like, nah, just this convenience is where I'm okay with. But
Yeah.
I like what you guys are doing. I see, I'm like, oh, it makes me want to do it
And
more.
everybody's got a backyard.
Yeah, and I think there's more and more influencers like you guys that are doing this, and I think the more it gets out there and the folks that see it, it's going to inspire them to do. And it might just start with just some tomatoes. Everybody eats tomato sauce all year long,
I
so
know.
maybe it just starts with that.
Yeah, that's
and
what I
then
tell
it inspires
people.
you to do some beans. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So you've got 60 acres. How much of it is your garden or tillable space?
Honestly, not much. So of our 60 acres, what do you think, babe? 52 to 53 of it is woods.
Yeah, woods
Okay.
and deep hollers, and it'd be hard to grow anything here in some of these places. A lot of people joke around here like, oh, the only things you can grow is cedar trees and rock. So, but I mean, you can mend the soil to do whatever. We've picked out some sections of the property to be able to garden. Now, we could have a huge garden. We still got enough acres. We could have a huge garden, but we also have some animals that require hay. So I don't want to take the space that we actually are cutting hay for the horses or whatever to put in a garden.
Yeah.
Because you really don't need anything really big to sustain throughout a year. You really don't.
Yeah. We just
No.
have a garden behind our house, which is like maybe, I don't know, 8 rows of corn, green beans, and potatoes. And that's enough to be self-sufficient for a year for our family of 5. And then we have, I know,
Them boys are getting wild.
I thought.
and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh goodness.
So I get beat. I love it.
I know. Well, we have 3 boys, and the youngest is 3. And let me tell you, that kid's insane.
I
Like,
love it.
Yeah.
They're all good kids, but that 3-year-old, oh my gosh! If
That's the way they're supposed to be, though.
it is, it
They're
is.
supposed to be.
They're just different.
Yeah, it's so fun. Like genuinely, I tell everybody that I work with because I'm a nurse. I actually work at the VA in Cincinnati. I tell them every day, like I literally love being home. So many of them pick up overtime, but for me, I just want to be home. And same with James. Every second that I can with these boys and just doing stuff on our farm. We're never bored. There's always stuff to do. It is so relaxing. We're completely disconnected from the outside world here. It's just literally amazing. Oh, it's so nice. I love it.
Is the goal for you guys to retire as soon as possible?
Yeah. So James is an expert with money. The only thing I'm good at with money is I just don't spend money. But as far as like financing and budgeting, James is outstanding, which is part of the reason why we've been so successful on this farm and just with everything in life is because of how financially stable he is. He started at Duke Energy when you were what, 19, 20?
Yeah, 19.
So he's already
Oh,
been there
hey,
13
okay.
years. And
Yeah.
he, for the first 10 years he worked there, he put almost 20% of his paycheck into his 401k. So really our realistic goal at this point is when our youngest goes into kindergarten in 2.5 years, he's going to retire. Because at that point in time, he would be at Duke for over 15 years. He's already vested into his pension. We've got our bills down to where we do not need both of our salaries to survive. I love being a nurse. I only have to work 3 days a week. So he'll be working full time, but he'll be working full time from the farm, not at Duke Energy. That's
And then
the
you
goal.
don't need all that work to pay for things that you don't need that you can just do
Correct.
yourself. So you really
Exactly.
don't need it, you know?
Yeah, because we
I
have a
think a lot of
sawmill
Americans-
now
yeah.
and everything.
Well, and let's be honest, this stuff, the monetization of social media is only gonna get better for you
Yeah.
too. And I don't know how much you're monetized right now, but it's only going to get better. Just keep doing what you're doing, and
Yeah.
then that's really just a byproduct of you doing what you love to do.
You could be the new HGTV family, dude.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, dude, this could be.
We've had people tell us that. Oh gosh, I could not imagine. I like
with
being in control.
Yeah.
With the popularity of homesteading, it's going to happen. These big TV networks are going to start picking up more stuff like this.
It's got a good name, just Collins Country. It just sounds good.
It really does. It really does
Yeah.
sound like it could be on like Lifetime or Bravo or HGTV.
Yeah. We've had
for
people
sure.
say that. We're like,
That's
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
so you've got the veggie garden thing. You have 60 acres. Obviously, I'm sure you hunt.
oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
he's a
All
he
your-
lives for hunting
Same. So does all your protein come from that?
for the
Oh,
most
yeah.
part. Yeah,
You also
He
have
hunts
domestic
deer.
animals.
turkey.
Yeah.
No, we do not have cattle. We have chickens and a horse, but we talked about a dairy cow and maybe keeping the offspring when we breed her back every other year for beef to sell and for us. But I don't know, we really don't need it because of the deer meat.
Yeah, we got so much deer meat that it wouldn't be beneficial for us to have a
Yeah.
cow. I mean, beef sometimes. I mean, like beef steak, in my opinion, it does taste better than deer.
Oh,
But
it's delicious, yeah.
you know, I finally got into smoking. All the guys at work, it's into smoking some meats, and I tell you what,
Yeah.
smoked deer tenderloin,
Oh my God.
man, it is good.
So good.
I know.
And good for
I know.
you.
So
Yeah,
it's
and
really good.
I feel like the deer tenderloin, it absorbs so much of the smoke flavor in a short
Mhm.
amount of time. So you can
Oh,
like
yeah.
cook a medium rare tenderloin and have a incredible flavor, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like an hour or two.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
You know what I
for
mean?
sure.
So it's
Yeah,
not
I
like a
love
pork
that.
butt where you're doing 8, 10 hours. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. You've done that.
Do you guys have waterfowl down in your area, like
Yeah,
ducks and geese?
yeah, we do. Now that's something that I've never gotten into hunting. Now I wouldn't
Okay.
mind trying to do that, but I've never gotten into it.
We
Yeah,
don't have a
pond-
lake where we live. It's on the to-do list. We're hoping to put in a pond this year, a big one. So I mean,
Okay.
there are ducks around here, but not really any that
It
we-
is. It's very cool. It is.
Yeah.
we live.
We're lucky. We're on the coast. So if we're out hunting on
Yeah.
the coast, like you get to be there in the sunrise. Sometimes I'll just watch them. Sometimes there's been plenty of times where I just watched them all. I'm like, I should have shot at some of those. But it's like, it's just such a
Yeah.
beautiful moment. Like, this is
I
awesome.
won't. I will not do that. I will refuse to just watch. I have 60 days to kill waterfowl out of the year. I could watch the other 10 months. You know.
See,
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in the first flock coming in, and that is my live. I never shoot the first flock that comes in. I believe in a live decoy setup. So, like,
Yeah.
you got your decoys out there. I am the only patient person who's like, yeah, let them fly in, dude.
No.
That's some. Look, we got the fake ones, we got the real ones in there. They're just there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're gonna be working for me now. So sometimes, especially if like we're at if we're in like flooded timber, and sometimes you're just watching wood ducks fly around, and you're like, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
Shit, I think they're all gone. Damn it. All right. Well,
I missed it.
Well, and I say all that to say, goose breasts are very similar on like a smoker.
Oh, okay.
Take a goose breast, it's just like a mini roast essentially, and a couple hours on a smoker to like a medium rare, and with literally just salt and pepper and sliced real thin. It's so incredible, and it just takes on the
Yum.
flavor. You know what I mean? But you get great food. Don't have to wait all day for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, so you got turkeys, I'm sure, right?
Okay.
I got to sneak out to get my son. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. James can
No.
talk a little bit longer as long as the kids in the background cooperate. So
it's all good.
You're all good. I appreciate you.
yeah, thanks guys. All right, love you. See
You
you
got it.
Yeah. So turkey season's actually right around the corner for us.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So here at the end of March, actually, is youth weekend. So I plan on taking my son out. So he'll
Is
be
this the
7.
first time?
What's that?
Is this the first time taking them out, or?
I've taken him with me a time or two, but he's never actually hunted. He's just been with me. So I've got a 410. So we're gonna take him out with that, and hopefully we're successful. But you know, them turkey, they can see real good. I'll probably end up setting up a blind, and we'll
Yeah,
probably just stay put. Typically, we're running and gunning around here. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, turkey hunting, I love it.
It is so fun to turkey hunt, and you're right. It's one of the hardest things to be successful at.
Yeah.
And that is one of those things where I feel like you have so much fun turkey hunting without pulling the trigger.
Oh yeah,
Just
that's
like you
true.
said, chasing a bird, roosting the bird, calling them
The
back and forth.
interaction, yeah.
The whole interaction, hearing them gobble and
Yeah.
getting close. And when they're hung up at 60 yards,
Yeah.
you can't quite see them or whatever. Like all that excitement that builds up to it is, in my opinion, it is better than deer hunting. I love deer hunting, but I
Yeah.
feel like turkey hunting is way more exciting without pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
Deer hunting is just boring as hell.
Yeah.
You just have to enjoy you have to enjoy the quiet and sitting down and being by yourself and
A
relaxing.
good nap at a deer stand.
A good
you know?
nap, yeah,
Yeah,
on the
for
deer
sure.
blind. Everybody loves that. But yeah, our turkey season starts April 13th. And
Okay.
yeah, our youth season is the weekend before.
Yeah.
My son is 6. He actually shot his first 2 deer this year.
Nice.
I built him or us a really nice blind, because you know how still and quiet 6-year-olds are.
Yeah. Right.
So he wanted to do it. He has a little youth model 350. We practiced. I've got him a little tripod vise. He got really good with it over the summertime. It's like, all right, you want to go? I'll take you. And sure enough, opening day of our gun season, 98 yards, drilled a little spike.
That's
it was
awesome.
it was. I got that up on my YouTube.
I got to see if my property. We just me and 3 other guys went and bought 100 acres in South Delaware. just to hunt on, so we could take our kids, go out safely, and just do our own thing. So we're gonna see if I gotta see if there's actually turkey on there. There's a
Mhm.
lot of
There is.
I'm sure there is. We're lucky because there's like we have a big section of woods and there's a lot of farms around it, so we have kind of a safe haven for animals. But if there is, this will be my first hunt to take my son on, who's
Oh
4.
yeah.
So the turkey
That's awesome.
season, I'm hoping it'll be the first. I get him out there, which I'm sure he'll destroy all sounds and just
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought a crossbow. So I took my 6-year-old out last year, and he ended up, or I guess the year before last, and he ended up shooting himself a doe. But we had built a little cedar blind, and that's kind of what it's literally 100 yards behind the house right here, and it's perfect for the kids. And I've actually had them out there a time or two where they get a little bit impatient. They're like, "Hey, can we go home?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, just walk up to the house there." So they walk up, and then I continue to hunt. But it was the funniest thing. A doe had come out into this alfalfa field back here, and she meandered out there for a long time. And I had my son ready. I got all this on film, but she ended up coming all the way up to us from 200-yard long field. She come all the way up to us and stood broadside for, I'm telling you, minutes. I mean, she stood there broadside for minutes, 15 yards away. And I'm like, man, this is a perfect opportunity. And I'm trying to get my son ready and everything. And kids, I feel like at that age, which you probably know, they have a really hard time with the scope. And there's a scope on the crossbow, and they're either too far or too close. And I'm working with him. I'm working with him for a long time, and that deer just standing there. And finally, he connects with her, and she runs down at the end of the field and falls over, man. And he couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. We're both fist pumping, and it was awesome.
Isn't that's such an
Absolutely.
incredible moment? And I've my dad passed away when I was 22, and like my son was just like me when I was a kid, and all I could think about, like, man, how much my dad would love little Jerry. And
Oh, yeah.
and then there's like that moment happened and the emotions, right? Like, because we
Oh,
we
yeah.
had planned for this back in the summer, right? We planned, okay, opening day, I'm going to take you, we're going to do this, and we did all the right things. And then when it came together and it happened, and we watched the deer fall down, and it like brings tears to your eyes. You
Oh,
know what I mean?
yeah.
And how excited he was, and like because he saw the work that went into it. He had to practice identifying targets. He had to practice
Right.
shooting, and
Yeah.
and he did it perfectly. It just like there was no overthinking all the whole thing. It's a real special moment, and like I'm sure you felt the same. It was like
Oh, yeah.
the most your favorite hunt ever. All of a sudden, the favorite
Oh,
hunting
yeah.
moment of all time is that little moment.
Yep.
That's I love hearing those stories, and it also comes to a point now where, and you're getting into it now, going hunting, I don't even care what I shoot.
Right.
Like, all I want is for him to do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
would you recommend that I would probably get, so I didn't even think about this part, what I should start making on. Would you recommend a crossbow then, starting him on?
I mean, I think a youth model crossbow, or like the 350 rifles that we could use here in Delaware, there's no kick to them. They're not super
Yeah.
loud.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I'll have him. I honestly, my opinion, I feel like the crossbow is a little bit more dangerous than a firearm,
Yeah.
unless they really know not to get their fingers in the way,
Right.
and stuff like that.
I was saying just literally being lazy, playing around with it, and
Or like you go
Yeah.
to shoot, and like I've done it before. I have my thumb up, and
Yeah.
the bow like hit your thumb, and like
okay.
the newer ones like a Raven or something like that, I'll take your thumb right off. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. So we got a Scorpid model, and actually they do have a pretty wide plate. It would be pretty
Hmm.
tough to get your hands up there. Now, to that being said, my dad's got a 10 point, and we were all out shooting one day, and he shoots, starts screaming and everything. And sure enough, he ended up getting his thumb up in there, and it darn near broke his finger. It didn't slice it, but I mean, his finger swelled up pretty nasty. I mean, it may have broke it. We don't know. We never went to the
Yeah.
hospital, but
Okay.
it is definitely a danger. I feel like there's dangers to all them things.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when it comes to, I mean, I'm still teaching my kids, but if I'd give any advice at all, or give anybody anything to kind of look at when it comes to kids and weapons, it's them holding them. Their kids are small.
Yeah.
Most of these weapons, even youth models, sometimes are big, and
Yeah.
just being able to secure that weapon is the hardest part. So you almost have to have like those gun vices or some sort of tripod for them to sit on.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
my kid, my 7-year-old, even right now, like we're going to start hunting with a 30-30 this coming year. I mean, it's going to be big for him to just hold up,
Mhm.
So that's like the biggest obstacle is to overcome in kind of that situation.
So look I don't know if you have this or not. Look into the Death Grip tripod.
Yeah.
Have you seen them?
I've seen them. Guys at work have talked about them. I have just kind of a cheap generic tripod right now, and it
Mhm.
works great with the Scorpion crossbow. But when it comes to guns, it's not as secure as I'd like it to be.
This thing cranks down and it moves every angle.
Nice.
And it extends. A full grown adult male can stand up and shoot on it, and it's got
Okay.
telescoping legs. It's a little spendy. I mean, it's like a couple $100, but I'm like, all right, he wants to hunt. We have the capability to buy this, and so he can do it. Like, I'm not going to not do it.
Mhm.
My wife's gonna listen to this podcast and be like, "What shit are we buying now?"
Yeah,
I'm like, "Hey, we need to go. We need the crossbow."
but it's
Yeah.
all. I mean, it's all for the good. You want your kids to experience that stuff. And like I said, if there's not a real reason to say no, you're not ready for this, then why wouldn't you?
Right.
My son proved it. I said, hey, you got to identify the target in the backyard, and we worked on it. And he was doing it because I would have. That's another thing with the Vice. I'd say, go aim at this target, and he would find it, and he would let it go, and then I would go look. I'm like, okay,
That's
cool,
right.
you're right on.
Yeah.
So and then went live fire, and then from live fire practicing, we went to deer hunting.
Yeah.
So it holds its own position very well too, while being able to move.
It's fairly stiff, right? And if you just let it go, it'll stay there. For sure.
Okay. That's nice.
I found I like using it.
Yeah.
Just because why not make it
Sure.
up there for yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. The ones that we got, I did the same thing. I trained him the exact same way by kind of turning it off the target, telling him, turn that thing, find the target, put it exactly where you think that deer is going to die, and then I'll double check it. But ours, it's like, man, any kind of little bump on it jerks it one way or another. So it was hard to tell for me, like, exactly where he was. And then we'd end up going to the live fire mode, and I'd say, okay, shoot that deer in the lungs where you think, and he'd shoot it and he'd do good. So, but like when it came to the deer out in the alfalfa field, it took us a long time. Like I said, I was impressed with how long that deer just stood there. I'm like, this don't happen around here. and she stood there a long time.
And you can't train like the nerves and the adrenaline. Right. You just got to get
looking over like, that's still standing there. Shit, come on, man.
Yeah. I have that was my mindset the whole time. I'm like, hurry. But daggone it, that deer didn't move. I'm like, cool.
Look, it was meant to be. My son's first deer, and I had the GoPro up in the blind, just running towards us, and the deer was kind of moving a different way. I had to pull the gun out and set out a different window, and I'm like kind of saying like, all right, let's hurry up, get your stuff together. And he's standing there. He just was eating a Taki and like finishing up a drink of his Prime energy drink that he just, it's his favorite thing to drink, whatever. And I was like, what are you doing? Let's go, man. This deer's like quartering away, walking the wrong direction. And you're over there screwing around with snacks. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? Let's go.
Oh, yeah. I know how it is. I
love it, man.
Yeah, today I was going to take Elias out, get the 410 out, and start shooting a little bit. We've shot that many times, so I feel pretty confident with him. But like I said, when it comes to handling the weapon, that's like my biggest thing with the kids right now is because they're small. And this 410, it's a Mossberg, the 500 model, the 410 model. It's a pretty sweet little gun, but it's pretty long. So I want to make sure he can handle it confidently and comfortably, out in the woods, just in case we do run a gun. That's my preferred method, but I will sit in the blind if I need to.
I don't think Macon's ready to hold up a gun and shit.
No.
I think he's just more of a sit with me and hang out.
Yeah, that's where it starts for sure.
Yeah.
I have him in the backyard. He does. I train him on a bow right now.
Okay.
He can make it probably like 3 or 4 shots, and then he's on to like the golf club and then something else. But
well, yeah, that's normal.
yeah, I mean it's not much, but I gotta hopefully this summer he'll see me shooting a lot more. Maybe he'll hang out longer.
Yeah.
That's
so that's like, well, that's another thing. Just think. So you obviously you work 40 hours a week.
Yes.
And then on top of that, you've got a lot of stuff to take care of. I'm sure there's always something that needs to be fixed, something that needs to be moved around. And so what's your normal day like?
Well, so like this is kind of a shocker to a lot of people, but I'm usually the last one up on the weekends at my house. Okay. Like today I woke up at 9 o'clock, which is that's actually later than I normally wake up. And and this is, so I work 4 days a week. So I work 4 10s, and Friday, Saturday, Sundays are my weekends. And so I
Nice.
try to sleep in just because I have to wake up at 4 o'clock on the the days that I actually go into work. So
Mhm.
today I wake up at 9. My kids, my wife's already up. It never fails. She always has breakfast ready for me. And then like I kind of drink my coffee, get going, and usually right around 10:30, I'm heading out to the farm to work on stuff, whether that be going to the shop, working on the latest, content for YouTube, or just fixing stuff. Like today I actually need to change oil in the vehicles, at least the minivan that we got. It's due, and then we're working on a new project for YouTube, which I'm super, super excited about. I don't know how much traffic we're going to get on it, but I have a Chevy Cheyenne '89 that was in the tobacco barn when we bought the property, and we're actually taking the 350 motor out of it, and we're putting a 12 valve Cummins in it. And so I'm like super.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're redoing it from the ground
I
up.
feel like that's gonna get plenty of traction.
Yeah.
I mean, come on,
Yeah.
come on.
Especially
Yeah.
with your arms. But what about like work nights? Like if you work a 10-hour day,
Yep.
you coming home and feeding horses and
Yeah, so basically we're taking care of the chickens. So my boys are with me, so I typically go and pick them up after work. I'm coming home. My first thing that I do is I feed the kids and myself because we're all hungry after a long day. And we all go over to the barn. We feed the horses. We take care of the chickens, whatever else that needs to be done. And if we have time, sometimes we'll piddle around in the shop. My boys are always out there with me. They have a great time over there as well. And then we're coming back home. My kids, they typically get to bed around 8 o'clock. So like I got to get them back over here, get them bathed and stuff, and put them in bed.
Yeah.
So
you're cramming a lot in a day.
I'll tell
If
you
you
what,
got kids in bed by 8.
yeah, a lot of people.
That's
That's one of our difficulties is when I need my sleep, and I've been very prideful about it for years. I'm like, yeah, I wake up early, whatever, yada yada. But I've noticed over the last few years that man, not getting enough sleep can take a toll on your health for sure.
Yeah.
And my wife, you could probably tell she is super super energetic, and she
Yeah.
is like an Energizer bunny, and it's like that nonstop. And for what, just to keep up with her, it's like man,
Yeah.
so like and she knows it. She knows that I need my sleep. So in the mornings, she wakes up 6 o'clock in the mornings like it's nothing, and then that's why she's in here keeping the kids quiet so I can get my rest. But like just my physique and everything, I've noticed taking a toll over the years, just getting up early, just not getting enough sleep. But like typically in the evenings, just because when me and her wind down after putting the kids to bed, I mean it's 11 o'clock before we're getting to bed, and I got to get up at 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Man.
Do you have the boys in sports too?
Oh, so Elias is in cross country, and we're working on trying to get him into like basketball or something like that. But my kids haven't been super involved in sports just yet, so it's kind of something a lot of people get shocked about. Is I never really played sports. Courtney did. She was actually on track. Matter of fact, she's the cross country coach up at the school. So
Nice.
that's kind of why Elias does that. And but yeah, I mean, I do want him to get into sports. I don't want to. I feel like I do him a little bit of an injustice because I don't watch sports. I don't ever watch sports on TV. I don't follow none of the pros around here, nothing like that. There's guys at work. That's all they do. They live and
Yeah.
breathe sports. But me, nope, I don't care anything about it. My wife, she knows more about football than I do. She's actually a big OSU Buckeye fan.
Okay.
Her and her dad both. Matter of fact, they're going to, I guess, a spring game pregame. I don't know, a game this spring, and they want me to go, and I'm like, I don't care about watching a bunch of guys throw around a football. But
yeah, all you can think about is like the work that's not going to get done around the
Yeah.
property while you're off doing that.
yeah, I mean, there's things that I need to be doing here, but it is what it is. That's kind of one of my biggest battles. I need to take more time out and do them kind of extracurriculars because to be honest, I'm kind of an antisocial guy. I'd much rather just be here on my farm doing what I love to do, and then that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and the kids will make you think differently about that too. Like you just said it, like I got to get them more involved in this because you maybe start to feel that guilt of like,
Yeah.
well, I don't just want to push them into what I'm doing or what I have to
Right.
do or want to do.
Yeah.
Let's see, find their way, what they're
Yeah.
going to like.
Well, I
They're
was-
already way ahead of every other kid out there doing the
Yeah.
manual stuff they do.
Well, I definitely want to make sure they're raised like that to where they can turn a wrench, they can use a hammer. You know what I mean? It's and this might be a little bit debatable to some people, but like we're definitely not the types of parents that are going to put our kids in a little helmet, knee pads, elbow pads, just to put him on a bicycle. You know what I
No.
mean? Yeah, we're gonna put him out there on that bicycle, and he's gonna learn. You know, if he falls and gets hurt, that's only going to make him learn even more. But
Yep.
I know there's parents out there. Of course, this is probably a sensitive topic, but you know, they got them all bubbled up in some wrap. It's like,
And what good does that do, right?
right,
I mean, your life is going to beat the hell out of you physically or emotionally.
exactly.
The lessons are the same.
Yeah.
Physical and
Right.
emotional. The lessons are exactly the same, and it's the reason. And we're all fortunate enough in 2024 to have pretty cushy lives. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You,
yeah,
you had to go find a harder life. Like you actively
yeah.
sought that. You didn't have to, right?
Right, right.
So we try to position our kids to make it a little tough. So I get my
Yeah,
son into football, get him into wrestling. He's in
yeah,
lacrosse now. So they're hard sports. They're physically
sure.
demanding sports.
Yeah.
It's not if you get hurt, it's when it's going to
Yeah,
happen. You know, broken
yeah,
bones are coming. And
sure.
same thing, he's got four-wheeler or dirt bike, and
Yeah,
and I'm okay with it. He's not gonna die, right? We
yeah,
let him do dangerous things carefully.
yeah,
Um, just kind of watch him like, okay,
Teach them to freaking look forward, man.
yeah,
yeah,
I put my son on the four-wheeler, I get on the dirt bike and I ride right next to him. And most of the time it's like, look forward, look
yeah,
where
yeah,
you're
yeah.
going. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
just the other day, my kid took a four wheeler and ran right into a tree. Now we have been getting on him here lately about that. Like, listen, if you're going to be driving like that, you're going to be putting your helmet on there. So you know, it's like he'll be looking at me, and I'm in my side by side, and he's like trying to race me and stuff. But he's like not looking at. He'll run right into a tree. It's
I
like,
think about when people like I put my daughter and my son on the small dirt bike with me because they both want to ride at the same time. My little daughter, she loves the dirt bike now. So like, but when I go in the front yard near the road and people are going by, I'm like, you think people are like saying, "What the hell, man? That kid's got no helmet on." I'm like, well, I don't plan on dropping them. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, but you're right though. You can't just. I don't know. I'm the same way. I'm with you. These
yeah,
kids, they have to get hurt. They've got to. You know what I mean? Like it was just normal. It's what we did when we were kids.
sure,
Yeah.
I've never wore a helmet to go roller skating or skateboarding
right, right, right.
or riding my bike, and I've
Yeah.
got scars all over my body from bike wrecks. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? It's
yeah.
just kind of what it was.
It's cooler, dude. You won't be the guy with the helmet on. It's cooler not to have it on.
I know. Tell me about it. So when it comes to sports, so I think like the kids don't seem interested, and that's where I feel like I possibly am doing them a little bit of an injustice, just because like I'm not interested in it. So they tend to be interested in what I'm interested in, which is cool. I love that, but I also want to broaden their horizons. You know, sports. You know, I did play a few sports when I was a kid, and it is a lot of fun. You make good buddies doing stuff like that. You know, I got cousins that are they're into some sports hardcore, and their kids are into it, and it's a good time for them, and I think it's good lessons learned, like you said. So I somewhat try to push it a little bit, but I'm not too pushy on it. But I kind of want my kid to do basketball. I think he'd be good. We're kind of tall, so my kids are super tall. They're somewhat coordinated, you know. So it's like you should try to do a little something. Try to get involved.
Yeah, because you never know what it's going to lead to. I mean,
Sure.
it could turn out to be nothing. It could turn out to be something, and that doesn't mean go pro or nothing like
Right.
that, or get a free college education. That means like making lifelong friends, learning life lessons within your team.
Yeah,
Right?
it provides them with life challenges inside of a game. So it's a good way to step them into
Yeah,
something easily, knowing that like, hey, he's going to learn some things. He's going to find a struggle in himself that he's going to have to face that fear. So it's a good
Exactly.
situational.
yeah.
Yep.
What I like see about like parents like yourselves and even talking to you, very much like us, like you have to be so intentional with your kids to put them into these situations intentionally because life is just too easy right now.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do certain things. Life doesn't have to be hard. So we have to intentionally make it a little bit challenging.
Yeah, we try to make it hard. Dude, what I say every morning, dude, there's three dads, we're all friends. And how many kids are in that school?
A
A
lot.
ton. There's a playground right in front of our kids' school.
Mm-hmm.
We take our kids there early so they can go play on a playground in the morning. There will be, probably 15 other cars with the parent is on their phone, the kids are in the back on the phone. I'm like, this is a weird, intentional, lazy. Like, why did you even come to the parking lot this early to get on your phones? Like, it's so
Yeah.
soft, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What is that kid thinking watching us? You know what I mean? Like, God,
Yeah,
soft.
I felt the same way for years. But what's funny now is, me and Courtney, we were never into social media, like in our early life. And now here we got YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. So that's something that we're constantly doing is we're editing on our phones or filming with it or on this computer editing. And it's like, so my kids do see that, but they understand like what we're doing. But, if I was that young and I seen that, it would probably rub off on me, unfortunately.
It is a weird thing to balance because Jerry knows I'm not big on like I always hate when people would come up to me, hey man, did you see this? I'm like, I don't even want to see it. Like I could care less about it, man. Like I'm not a big social media guy. I only use like Jerry knows, like on Facebook, I don't follow one person.
Yeah.
That I don't even follow my wife. Like I follow no person so that it is just for business. I post my work and that's it. I don't care about anything else. So it is weird to be part of this community now and then be like, I guess you got to get social media some, but it's like, if I'm following you, like I generally like you. I don't follow, I don't go looking, like it just naturally, I just let it come organically.
Yeah.
To your, like what you're just, kind of touched on with your kids seeing you guys do it, it's also a business too.
Yeah.
Sure.
So they could see the correct way to do it. Like
That's true.
they can learn social media through contribution, not consumption. You know what I mean?
True,
So
true.
hey, we're learning. Mom and dad contribute. They don't just consume to consume.
Yeah.
So which
that's
I
a good
think
way to put it.
They're the leaders, not the followers.
that's
you know
the
what I
big
mean?
difference in social media. Is there's people that just consume,
Yep.
and it does nothing for you. You're providing value, entertainment, whatever, and also creating things to help your kids too. So yeah, don't discredit yourself. I think you're doing it the right way. It's going to be there either way.
Oh, right, for sure. There's no getting around that.
No, absolutely not. So, another thing I was kind of curious about, we touched on the maple syrup season. What do you guys do with all this? Is this you sell?
Well, that's what a lot of people have been asking us lately. To be honest, it takes so much to boil down to make maple syrup. We haven't got into selling it. And that's one thing weird about our farm is we do focus on more self-sufficiency versus actually growing or producing anything to sell. Now, there are times where we have sold things, like we get so many eggs that we just sell them to not waste them. Or sometimes we've sold some of our chickens to people because we'll have so many chickens, we're just getting too many eggs. And we've actually, Courtney this last year did sell some produce at work. And but with maple syrup, we haven't sold anything yet. Although I had a couple guys at work asking about it, and I'm like, yeah, you want to pay me? I'll of course give you some maple syrup. But
how many trees are you hooked up to?
So it's just a short season. It's only through the beginning of February, or I'm sorry, beginning of January through the end of February. And we've already pulled the taps off the trees, but this year it was 7 trees.
7 trees. Okay.
Yeah. And I believe, and she knows more. I told her she was taking care of all of the maple syrup stuff. So, but I believe we ended up with almost 80. It had to have been more than 80 gallons because we ended up with almost over a gallon.
So you're getting 10 gallons almost a tree.
Yeah. So it's
how long does it take to get the 10 gallons out of that one tree?
Well, that's another thing that's weird. People ask us these questions all the time, but it is really hit or miss with temperatures. The temperatures is what determines how much pressure is in that tree to be able to actually, give us that sap. So it depends. Some days where you had a pretty good freezing night and it would go above freezing during the day, like a good 20, 30 above, man, it's gonna drain that sap quick. So there's been times where she's went down there and we've had 3 gallons of sap in a 5-gallon bucket, and she checks them once a day.
So how often do you have to like pull that
once
out?
a day? So she'll go down there and check them once a day. And like in those situations, if she like waited 2 days to check, it would have been overflowing.
So stupid question. Is it only the maple tree you can do this from?
Actually, no, you can actually tap quite a bit of trees. So a lot of people don't know that, but the one thing you have to consider is the amount of sugar content in some sap versus other trees.
Okay.
So like you could probably tap a black maple, but the sugar content's not going to be near as good as a sugar maple.
Okay.
So like a black walnut is another tree.
We have a lot of those.
Yeah. So that actually is high dollar sap, but now the sugar content is not very good. But if you can boil down some black walnut sap to syrup, that you make some good money.
Is that a high nutrients syrup, would you say?
I'd say from what I've heard, so we got walnuts and we do plan to tap them eventually, but from what I've read and heard is it's a very caramely, sugary
Okay.
taste. So it's
So
more
maybe
of a
maybe a different application it could be used for.
yeah, exactly. So, but I tell you what, this sap is unreal.
How do you preserve how many times can you tap? How do you preserve the tree to give you a life cycle?
Well, so like there are kind of rules to the game on tapping. So you tap a specific area, you don't want to reuse that area the following year. You're just going to
Okay.
damage and hurt the tree. So there's like I think it's 3 inches down and 8 inches over. So and then you tap that place. Now, if the tree's large enough, there are kind of rules to the game where you can have multiple taps coming off of it. But most of our trees, I would say, are probably no more than 12 inches in diameter. And so we're doing single taps per tree. But
How high do you start then? If it's 3 inches, so can you plan out how many years that you can get off a tree? How high can you start?
yeah, so I think we're typically starting like 2 feet up. And that way we're able to drain into basically a 5-gallon bucket.
Okay.
So now
That
as the
doesn't
tree,
seem like that long that you can get off that tree that many years is 3 inches
I
down.
think it would be quite a bit because you got to think the tree's also growing. So as the tree's growing,
Okay.
you're going to get more surface area on that tree anyway. So,
Okay.
but my wife's the expert on all the tree tapping. I let her take care of that. It's another thing with our we have bees, 2 honeybees, which I didn't know if
Yeah.
you could do that. But
I seen them. They were going into the honey holes. Or to
yeah,
the
that was another thing I told her. I don't want any part of that. I'm like I
I'll do
don't
well with bees.
I don't want honeybees, but if she wants them, go ahead. So that's another thing. She's the expert on that. She's got
I don't do. I don't like bees. I do. When I get the ground hornets that come up in my deer stand or just right in my face, I'm like, oh my god.
oh I know how it is.
Is if I'm remembering this right, it takes 7 gallons of tree sap to make 1 gallon or
Oh.
1 pint of syrup. What's the equation?
Yeah, I believe it's 40 gallons of tree sap makes 1 gallon of syrup.
That's
You ended up with 80 gallons of syrup.
Yeah, actually, I guess that would have been we had a little over 40 gallons is what it was.
It seems like a bad business model. It'd be hard. You need a lot of damn
Well,
trees.
That's why
if you get
commercial syrup is fake.
Yeah.
well, and that's also why maple syrup is expensive, right?
Yeah.
But there are
Yeah.
places that have these maple farms where they have these taps that are coming down into these big vats. I mean, they don't have to work that hard, and it just constantly flows into there, and it goes to another area where it'll just boil it. And so that you can do this at a commercial basis, but you got to have a perfect setup.
And
Like
you don't see a lot of maple syrup. Like when I go and buy maple syrup, I'm buying 100% organic, pure, but that's
Yeah.
probably only 5 rows deep of bottles, and maybe there's only 4 or 5 selections of
sure,
actual maple syrup. You can go buy all the corn syrup you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
actual maple syrup, yeah, that does make sense. There's not a lot on the shelf, so that does make sense.
right?
It is fascinating because I didn't know any of this. Any of the shit you just said, I knew none of that.
Yeah.
I knew you trees. I knew you had to boil it down to get the syrup,
Yeah.
but like the rules of like where to tap and
Does anybody
Yeah,
oversee
never-
it? Does anybody oversee that? Like, do you have to get like a permit? Does anybody like can you just tap into a tree? Like, is there rules on tapping into trees?
No, I don't think so. I think that like we own our own property, we can tap it. Now, people have asked us questions on social media about if you can go to public land and tap trees, and that's a very good question. So that would be a situation where you may have to have a permit, or they just may say no
That's
altogether.
gotta be a hell no. God,
Yeah, yeah, that's what I- that's
shit
what I
out of
think.
trees.
Yeah.
We talk about this all the time too. Like makes you think like at what point in the human race did somebody go, hey guys, you can't use these God-given resources. You got to pay me to get a piece of paper that says you can.
Yeah.
Right? You got to pay me so you can fish in this stream that's been here for eternity.
That's so stupid.
It boggles my mind. And it makes me angry, especially because I hunt a lot, I fish a lot, and I pay all this shit every year.
Yeah.
To get my hunting license and my deer tags and my fishing license.
And I don't like that there's no accounting. Like if I saw what was happening, like we can drive right now, I can show you a ton of shitty blinds. I'm like, so you ain't even fixed on these blinds yet? You know what I mean? Like,
I pay
where's the money going? I'm all good for helping, but
Sure.
like, show me the plan, show me the accounting. Like, this is where all that money went. This is what we had to fix. Like, oh, okay, I get that. Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where like you should just be able to go out and tap a tree on public land.
Yeah.
Because you already paid for it once. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We already own that as the but anyway, that's a whole different thing. But it's just funny when you think about where did we whose idea was this?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's government, and government's the,
yeah.
they never run anything great. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I try to
Do
think
you
of
have oh, go ahead.
I was
Also,
going to say, I try to think of it as supporting, the conservation of everything, but at
That's
the
it.
same time, I understand what you're saying. But like, we do have that the elk herds in Kentucky. So, and I'm like all for that. I definitely
Yeah.
want the elk herds to grow. So, like when I buy a license and stuff, that in my mind, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, I'm supporting Kentucky here, but I
yeah,
know what
That
you're saying though.
that
a little
Sometimes you
barrier
don't
to
see.
entry to control it.
Yeah.
I know that is what it is, kind of thing.
Right.
And you're talking on like, if it's just your scale, you eat plant vegetables
Yep.
and kill proteins to feed your five, right?
Yep.
And that's kind of like, and it's, you can't multiply that by a million people, but
Right.
it's not much, right?
No.
Like how many deer do you need to kill a year for your family?
Yeah.
Like 6 or 7? Is that?
Well, honestly, we could probably get by with like three from what I've noticed. But
Yeah.
typically in a year's time, I'm usually killing 5 to 6 deer, but I'm
Yep.
usually always giving a deer away to like a guy at work or something.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
there's definitely giveaways.
I'm the same. My number is 5 or 6, and yeah, we give a lot away because everybody likes deer jerky. Everybody
Yep.
wants some deer, and let's be honest, that's a part of the fun is sharing it.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a commodity, dude. That stuff is tradable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I wish more people understood. Like, if you go to a supermarket, like I just don't think people understand the waste that they make and like how much how much meat it doesn't take to be sufficient. Like
Right.
you hunt how many deer, right?
Mhm.
People just go to the supermarket, buy whatever. It's like, how many cows did you waste? Like people are just wasting this shit. And
Oh, yeah.
meanwhile, it doesn't take that many for each human to survive. The
Right.
whole family,
Yeah.
Yep.
Nah, you could go deep down that rabbit hole, but I mean, ultimately, this is what's fascinating us, about you guys is that
Mhm.
like you get it, right? And I can make all the excuses in the world. I can do what you do, but I
Uh-huh.
choose not to. I choose
Right.
to take the pieces that fit into our little
Sure.
economic, family economics, right?
Yep.
But I love it. I love the fact that you're going, hey, here's the path we're choosing. That's how we're going to raise our kids, how we're going to feed our family, and it makes you happy. It brings you joy.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think it's such a positive. Like I think some people probably see it as like, like wives always get on the internet and find some new trend. They got to buy. There's something new all the time. I think, well, it is a positive one. Canning, like being homesteading more, like this is a positive one, man. Like being
Yeah.
self-sufficient. If self-sufficient turns into a trend, awesome. Like, let's
Yeah.
just start there. It should be a good trend. That'd be a good trend to start on.
No,
You know what I mean?
no, for
Yep.
sure, man. Well, look, want to respect your time. I really appreciate you guys taking a couple minutes to like I said, to talk to us. So for the people that have not heard from you yet, where can they find you?
So we are on YouTube, Collins Country. You just have to type that in the search bar, and you'll come up with our channel. We're on Instagram as well, and we are now on TikTok. So we don't really have a Facebook platform built. I'm not sure that we will, but TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube is where anybody can find us. We do full length videos on quite a bit of our content, but also the shorts and just the like the Instagram reels and stuff like that. You'll be able to
Yeah.
get little bits and pieces of our life and kind of what we're doing here on the farm.
And soon to be HGTV and
Yeah.
Discovery. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny. We just get involved in everything. Like our content's kind of endless just because, we love DIY projects. Like did the tractor rebuild. Now I'm doing the truck rebuild. We do all of the kind of the self-sufficiencies, homesteading type stuff. So, I mean, we just love to be like self-sufficient in an all-around basis. Like I said, I got machining tools and stuff in my shop. I could build parts over there, and we just like that being self-sufficient. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do have a like infinite. You're not going to have trouble coming up with content. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
That was the goal.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
Both men and women. So you got both genders of wanting like to see something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. You can see those stats on YouTube, Instagram,
Yeah.
and TikTok, and still surprisingly to me is we do have like 80% men watching our videos. But it's like, okay, I guess there's a lot more men that want to can, or maybe they just want to see the wife. I don't know, but regardless,
Well-
we invite them all in.
Yeah, I think it's men men like this lifestyle
Yeah.
a lot more, and I
Okay.
think that that's probably what they lean into, and they're probably like, "Hey, honey, watch
Yeah.
this, right?"
Why don't you stay at home and start, canning up the stuff? You want me to cook
Yeah.
that breakfast up now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, man. Well, look, thank you so much. Can't wait to put this out, and we'll make sure share this all over the place.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much
So-
for having us.